Try to do about a half hour here, if that's all right. First off, prairies are grassland. I plant prairies, right? A lot of people call, I need a wildflower garden, and I'm kind of like, we're not starting off too well here. These are prairies, and prairies are grasslands, right? Grasses dominate, and they serve the function of holding the soil, sequestering carbon, and doing all the work, right? And the forbs, which are flowers, they attract pollinators, birds, and they do some that fine tuning, okay? So prairies are grasslands with flowers in them, and that's what these are, right? I have a lot of clients who say, Cory, you planted a prairie 5 years ago, there's less flowers, and that's what happens. Over time, prairies become dominated by grassland, okay? The grasses just dominate over time, especially if you're burning. There's strategies you can do to eliminate that, such as fall burning instead of spring burning, mowing early in the spring, things like that. But eventually, it's going to be less flowery over time. Okay. Sometimes I'll buy flowers like black-eyed Susan, partridge pea, penstemon, things that are known to establish easy by seed, and just throw it out in the wintertime, and then they get splashes of color in the summer, and that keeps them happy. But I've done that on this prairie once. So this was the second prairie. This is a 2011 prairie, and somewhere about 5-year point maybe, I think I overseeded it. But that's it. This one I burned last fall. And fall burning has got some major advantages, and one of that is the management. So it lays barren all winter, and in the spring you get some invasive, some cool season non-native grasses start to emerge, and it gives you a nice opportunity to spray them and kill them before everything else comes up. And that's been the strategy here on all these prairies. That's one reason I credit these being so clean looking, is fall burning and follow-up management up until April. In this term, Roundup. Yep, I do use what's called Garlon 3. It's broadleaf only, doesn't affect grasses and sedges. And then we do have a grass-specific herbicide too that we use that when grass becomes too intense in areas. We'll try to eliminate that, at least set it back a little bit. So we call those smart herbicides, and we do employ those quite a bit. Emily, want to point out some plants?
Oh, you put me on the spot.
We called it last night as we were preparing. I said, just do the Vanna White thing.
I had to like point them off. So Cory mentioned that grasses were a big part of the prairie restorations, but another part of that are another graminoid forms, and that is some sedges. So that's what this plant is. It's hard to see from here. So it is grass-like. Grasses also serve as the main primary fuel to help carry the fires through the prairies. And then the sedges are another component of that. So you can see these interesting seed heads here that they form. Sometimes they can be a little bit showier, but otherwise they're very interesting. There's probably hundreds of species of sedge that are native to Illinois. And a lot of times you have to use a microscope to separate and identify which ones are which. Of course, everyone can see the showy butterfly weed that's pretty plentiful throughout this plant here. That's the orange one here. I'd just like to point out some of the neat color variations. So this one is a little more pale orange. And then over to my left here, you have one that's kind of more of a reddish orange. And it's really neat how you can get that color variation. So not everything is wholly consistent. Some of the other grasses that are flowering here, this is side oats grama grass. It's just starting. But side oats, how it hangs kind of from one side of the stem there. And then another characteristic grass here is our little blue stem. So not flowering yet, it'll flower later in the summer, but it does have this neat bluish colored vegetation or foliage to it rather. So
The little blue stem, that's the predominant grass that I use in all my restorations. And I do that, it's prevalent in Joe Daviess County. If you're to visit all the remnants in our county, that's the predominant grass, right? If we had an official grass of the county, it would be little blue stem. So I use that, but I also love the bronze copper color that it produces. It's just got a beautiful contrast against the snow. But also, I like my prairie short. When I say short, I mean here, right? A lot of other groups are going out, they're planting very tall prairies, and they don't look inviting, and they also crowd out the forbs. Now this gives the opportunity for the forbs to get above them, okay? It takes longer to establish, it's more expensive, but it produces a better product.
Cory, is that the little blue stem right there in front?
right here.
This is side oats. Yep, so it's got that. Yeah. Little blue stem.
It is.
Yep. So I overuse it. I use it in landscapes too much. My wife makes fun of me because I just use little blue stem all the time. But I just love it.
There's also some prairie dropsy.
Little blue stem.
Bronze, yeah.
Bronze, copper. I have a lovely picture of
In the
many
fall.
projects. I love seeing it in the winter.
There's some dropsy there right in front of you.
Here's prairie drop seed that you probably all know.
Oh, okay.
And that's by seed. A lot of people say you cannot get drop seed by seed, but I have been able to.
Wait, is this prairie dropsy?
No.
Like over here?
Yeah, yep.
Does it have a
Popcorn
fragrance?
smell.
I'll be walking. Oh, what is that? I can
Yeah.
never figure it out.
Yeah,
I
nobody
like
can
it.
explain
I like
what it is. It's buttered popcorn or smelly socks.
Yeah, I don't know. It smells better than that. Okay, thanks.
And another item, and we're taking longer here because we're already here. This is pale purple coneflower, Echinacea pallida. Many people are buying at garden centers and things Echinacea purpurea. That is not native here. I will only use what's native to Joe Daviess County. So Echinacea pallida is what you want, right? And it's the logo of some conservation organization.
This one.
But it's the poster child of many things. But Echinacea pallida, I mean, I will pull out purpurea when I see it and treat it as a
Huh.
So this is the one you want.
So when you first begin, you always begin with grasses first? To plant grasses?
No, I have done that when more budget-minded projects occur. You get the grasses established and then you overseed the next 2-3 years because that's what has the bulk of the expense.
But you don't have to.
No. Is that white quinine?
Oh, that's Potentilla arguta.
Oh, yeah.
Prairie cinquefoil. Potentilla arguta. Yep. And I just came over here, so by contrast to some of these shorter grasses, this is big blue stem.
Yep, beautiful.
And it, can still, of course, it's nearly to my shoulders already, and could sometimes be found to be almost, 6 to 8 feet tall in the right conditions and things. So that's kind of how you can see that, if this was everywhere, a lot of these forbs would kind of get lost in the density of this vegetation. And sometimes, like in some of our prairie restorations for the territory, the big blue stem has become so dominant, it really has choked out some of the other flowering plants. So trying to find new ways to manage those areas to reduce that dominance.
Yep.
So what's the reason for having it then?
So it wasn't seeded, but
Oh.
this is a pocket for birds, right? So you have a lot of bird activity coming in. They brought it, probably from one of my wife's restorations.
I like it.
Yeah.
So, and I've let it, right? I don't like the grass, but it's happy if it stays like that.
Yeah.
That's
Sort of
fine.
in the center too.
Right. Yeah, and I've killed it in other areas. You leave
Yeah,
that.
and I know a lot of times too, Cory will prevent that from setting seeds. So he'll be out here later in the summer and early fall when this continuing to spread and become increasingly dominant in these areas.
Yeah. I do a lot of seed collection of plants I don't want to dominate. Right. And I'll use them somewhere else. I have plenty of projects that are just need native vegetation, right? So in the fall, I'll just go throw all that somewhere.
Yeah, that stuff flares up when you burn it off. That stuff flares up.
You're right.
Everything else.
Right.
Yeah,
it makes a blazing inferno, and it makes fire management harder.
Yeah. Carry over and stuff.
Cory, there's some lead plant blooming right here. Do you want to talk about the?
Yeah. Well, we'll start moving up to the next prairie, 2017 prairie, and I want Emily will point out the lead plant that's growing. Yep, you're right. Good call.
And Cory, there's more baptisia in those upper prairies, so I thought I'd wait to point that out because it's still flowering, whereas some of these are. All right, so this is the lead plant that we were just talking about, and it is actually it can be a woody plant. So oftentimes in prairies, because it gets burned over, more often than not, unless it's been, Cory was talking about burn rotation, so kind of our rule of thumb after prairies are established is to be on like a 3 to 5 year burning cycle or rotation cycle, unless you see something, that prompts you to think that you might have a need for more frequent burning. So oftentimes this will be considered more of a subshrub, so that means the plants are nearly woody, but not quite, just because that frequent fire continues to burn over. And I do see there's another one a little bit closer to the edge right here that would be easier for folks to see. So this is in the pea family, so it's a legume, which you can tell. If you look closely at the flowers, they're very small, but they are pea-like with the upper and lower lips. But then they have the several leaflets along the stem of the plant as well. So.
And I want to note that this is the only plant where its common name is derived from this area. So, as the pioneer people in the 1820s got here, they would look for this plant to indicate the lead was below, and it's true. It's got a deep taproot that finds crevices in the limestone and starts going down about 25 feet. So it's the only plant. So again, another plant that I just love and adore and overuse. So
question, does it, like, it was planted here,
yeah.
and it's thriving, does that mean there's lead?
Well, probably.
Did you want to start a mine here?
But this is another nice, like prairie drop seed, that people claim you can't grow by seed in a restoration, but the fact I always keep this short, it was planted a short grass player, it can get sunlight and get going, right? Where if it was a big blue stem prairie, which are so common, this would never have a chance.
Okay. So I think, Karen, the answer, it's more like a lore that I don't necessarily know if there's any positive correlation.
Well,
When they dug down, they did, but it's more like the old wives' tale or fable about the.
Another name,
Yeah.
I love nomenclature, so another name for it is prairie shoestrings. And when they were breaking the prairie sod with the steel plow, starting in 1840, it would go bing whenever the steel plow would hit it. It's like a shoestring breaker.
Really?
So all these, every single plant here has stories that could tell a book about it.
You should
That's
do a
what's great
children's book.
about native plants.
Yeah. That would make a cool children's book. Little stories. in the future.
So why don't we move to this next station here?
Oh no, mine's always in about the same size.
Western sunflower over there. Western sunflower.
Prairie coreopsis.
So at this station, I want to talk about the installation and how this all happens. All of my prairies, especially these turf to prairie conversion, or what's called a lawn conversion, the simplest form of prairie restoration, right? You have a manicured lawn, the weeds have been exhausted over years and years of mowing. They die pretty quickly. You don't have a lot of weed pressure. It's a very clean process. All of these were killed with Roundup starting in May, June. You see what you missed. You hit that, and by July, weeds start emerging, which is a good thing. Then you hit them again, they die, and then all of these got. And I think I've seeded all these on Thanksgiving weekend, because I'm here, and and that's what you want. Ideally, what you want, and what I strive for, is you put the seed down as that first snowstorm of the year is making its way across the plains, heading your way, and then you get that first snowfall on top of the seed. Protect it from the turkeys who love to steal the seed, right? And you want that, it'd be ideally for that snowpack just to stay all year. That rarely happens, but get that stuff going early. So late November, early December is the optimum time to get that seed down. And then you start the stewardship process, the management process after that. And usually I'm a big mow guy, mow for 4 years. I like Kevin's Prairie right now. He's in his last year of mowing it. And then you call what you call release the prairie, right? It's kind of like you got you have the 80s haircut and then you buzz it off. Wow, that's what I look like. So I'll be here all day. This one has Indian grass in it. Of the tall grasses, Indian grass is my favorite. I'm letting it hang a little bit. I'm not sure why I didn't plant it, but it's here. So we're living with it. We have prairie drop seed by seed. This one, again, you can plant 100 prairies, you're going to have 100 different prairies, right? This one has lots of baptisium. It was in that mix, it was in that mix, it was in the other mix, but here it likes it. So you never know your soil type, how it's sloped, what's called slope aspect. That all determines what plants like it there, right? Drainage. So every prairie has distinct differences here. And another thing I should add, 2 weeks ago this prairie looked much different, right? And 2 weeks from today it's going to look much different. You know, this isn't a static environment, it's dynamic, right? And that's what makes prairies so wonderful. And they'll even range from year to year. Last year at this time, this prairie was short, right? We were coming in a drought and didn't have a lot of rain. This year it's very robust and tall.
Now you said this was 2017?
Yep.
Okay.
When was this last burned, Cory?
So this was burned this spring.
Okay.
This one.
So I was wondering, what's the difference between, what was it like? Well, you said last year it was more affected by a drought. I'm trying to think, what would you expect the difference between this hasn't been burnt for 3 or 4 years, and then the year you burn it? What kind of difference do you see?
It'll be more forby if you don't burn it. Likely to have woody encroachment, meaning walnuts or whatever you have in your environment around you. There's some dogwoods coming up in that
So
prairie.
you'll see those start to
There
come
was a little
up.
bit of gray dogwood
Okay.
over there, not much, but
Yep. So your local environment will affect that. Luckily, this yard is a clean environment around.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes you get situations where it's just a disaster on both sides. They have tree lines, and the farmer got his thing, and those are really hard to manage. You know, I like these clean environments. It's nice.
It's easier.
But it would probably be more forby because grass encourages the grasses. And as you see up here, there's remnants of last year's growth still remaining that you see. So,
Is there a difference between prairies in North Illinois and those in like the midsection, like Medewin Prairie and Is there a difference between those prairies?
Yeah. Medewan has more of a sand component, so there's more sandy species.
Oh, there's more sand. Oh, okay, yeah.
Bison graze Medewan, so you have that effect going on, less grass, right?
But basically the same plants, just different.
Yeah, and that's a tall grass prairie.
Yeah,
Here, Joe Daviess
different
County soils
species.
are very thin, right? The limestone is very close to the ground. A lot of times it comes out of the ground, right? So your soils are just thin here. So this is short grass territory, right? But you know, every area has its distinct plants. And southern Illinois is a whole different set. So, anything else to point out, Dave?
Oh yeah,
Wild
just gonna
quinine?
point out this nice patch of yellow flowers here, daisy-like. This is Prairie coreopsis. So you can see it has kind of these unusual pronged leaves on them that are highly dissected, and then like a yellow daisy-like flower on the top. This one can spread. It's not an aggressive spreader. Like something like Canada goldenrod would be, but it can spread, which is why you see it's formed this nice big patch here. There's another smaller patch of it over my right shoulder here, and then this purple flowering plant or pinkish flowering plant is also in the pea family, as is the Baptisia, which is pretty obvious by the leaflets on the plant, the three, oops, I broke that one. The three lobed, it would look like that. The 3 lobed leaflets of this plant. That one also has 3 lobes. This one is Desmodium canadense, or showy tick trefoil. And now the name, the name of this comes from how the seed pods, these aren't quite mature yet, but when you walk through there, they'll stick to your clothes, akin to ticks. So that's how it got its name. But the trefoil, for again how it has the 3 leaves with 3 leaflets on it. Again, pretty typical of stuff in the pea family. So.
I have
that,
What's that white one, Emily?
this white one or that one?
That one.
This is Silene.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm drawing a blank. Oh, sorry, I'm drawing a blank on the name. We have it over at the point also. I find that it's typically more of a savanna species, so but it also can inhabit prairies. And then this other one here, there's a couple white flowering things, is wild quinine, and that's what's right along the perimeter of the prairie there. And it gets these great flat top umbels of white flowers that persist for quite a long time. And then another one of my favorites this time of year, this is flowering spurge, Euphorbia correlata, and I think if you get like a big grouping of it, it can kind of have almost like a baby's breath type look to it. That's what that white flowering one is there, right in front of the Baptisia.
Mary had a question.
Yeah.
We noticed on the other side you have a big patch of showy goldenrod. Is that rhizomes or is it self-seeding, or how? Because it's pretty concentrated up there.
It was in the seed mix.
Okay. I don't think that is a spreading.
No, it's pretty conservative.
So it could have just been, where the seeds landed.
It looks very nice. We're trying to get some of that.
Oh, sure.
Maybe an ignorant question, but
Yeah.
what's the difference between a savanna and a prairie?
So a savanna is a prairie-like habitat with trees on it. So your species component will be a little bit different because it'll have things that can tolerate a little bit of shade under like oak trees or hickory trees and things. But it's kind of on a gradient, so it goes from prairie to savanna, then to woodland. So that's so it's kind of that moderate ground between a prairie and a fully wooded community or fully shaded.
It's an open wood or prairie with trees,
Yeah.
and they have to be oak or hickory trees.
Okay.
And that was the dominant landscape of this county, right? 200 years ago. Right.
So Cory, could you go ahead?
When a prairie is somewhat established, seed in the fall if you want certain.
Oh yeah, that's the time to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Or add different things to what you've got.
Yeah, and you don't. It doesn't have to be burned or mowed off. 'Cause that snow is gonna get that seed.
Yeah, right.
You know, the freeze-thaw cycles, and January rain. And,
Right.
you know.
Are some of these biennials where they'll only bloom every other year?
Yes, some plants. I mean, you have annuals in here. Black-eyed Susan is annual, biannual, and a perennial.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of considered a weak perennial where it doesn't have the longevity as something like this bacteria or something like that.
So you're not guaranteed it's going to be coming up every year then, right?
Not in the same location. So they seed pretty easily. So
Okay.
you'll probably find it popping up. You know, if this plant's not here, exactly here next year, you know, there will be more around in different
Awesome.
areas.
So Cory, you said spring burn on this one, but fall burn on that one. What was the driver for this one? Not going with the fall, which sounds like is your preference.
Yeah, management. Yeah, I think there was goldenrod pressure that you can see. That I wanted to
Get out.
get a head on.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. So the next one, this is the youngest prairie, and it was a spring burn this year.
You want to talk about that while we're here?
Oh yeah. So in the marketing, we did mention there was a failed planting. This is a failure right here. I'm chipping away at this for 10 years. Can't get it nice. So very common in restoration and prairie establishment. You have some nice things here and there, but it's not doing what these do. It's just not responding. It's got a shade component. That could be part of it, but this is just weedy. And I put seed down 3 times.
Really?
It's just not happening. And that happens. I mean, I've walked away from many prairies in my career, and you know, this is one of these that is a struggle. So the white flower you see, that's a weed, it's not a high quality native plant.
Yep.
You know, I got some grasses on the back side there. And I trade shade tolerant plants, full sun. I mean, I've just thrown it all.
What do you think is the reason? You have an idea?
Soil, I mean, former farm use here. You look at the 1948 aerial and a 1964 aerial. You had livestock action going on here. The farmer was putting hay bales here, and that's where they were congregating. I ran into that in a few other areas. The old farmyards are always give me trouble, right? I have one up at Apple River that I've been trying for years. The soil's just hard and weedy.
Heavily compacted from
Compacted,
all the animal pressure.
So those are things that land genealogy that you got to do to try to figure this out, and that's my only thought. You can still see cattle tracks in this. That's an old tree line right there.
Why is this considered a
It comes up. It's very liberal. It comes up very easily.
It's invasive?
It's not invasive. It can be borderline.
Yeah, that's a good
I love
opportunistic.
that.
Yeah, right.
I have it in it too.
But it's native.
It is a native plant. Like so are cattails, right? So you think all plants are judged from a 0 to a 10, right? 10 is endangered, right? A 0 is weedy. A box elder tree is a 0. Right? Walnuts are 1, right? Oaks are 5, right? That's a 0 or a 1.
I think of it as it's taking advantage of the fact that all the other plants aren't in here and serving a purpose.
Right, exactly.
Pollinators like it.
Yeah, and it does serve a purpose. Like Eddie said, serving a purpose. Moths and butterflies are using it. And, you know, why would you, when you don't have anything else, why would you start focusing on its removal?
I see you have poison parsnip on
Yeah.
over there. We've been trying to get rid of it before it seeds.
Anyone I see, even if it's in the
Off
neighbor's.
with its head.
Yeah.
We're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Getting rid of it, but it's everywhere.
Oh yeah, every year.
It's crazy. What a battle.
Over on the other side, the blackberry, the wild blackberries.
Oh yeah, that's really great.
Move on to the next.
So Cory, it's probably not native to here, but we were in Washington State a few years ago,
Okay.
You see?
Never heard.
It's like these little clusters. To me, it's looking kind of every other place. There's just a cool little grass spot. White flowers on it.
It's a lily.
Yeah, you're from that area.
It's a lily?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, right? It looks
Oh,
like
yeah.
a little
Yep.
haystack of flowers or
Yep.
whatever.
Yeah, I lived up there for about 20 years.
So Cory, Kathy couldn't.
Minimum size.
National park. Skunk cabbage or
Yeah. My dog used to be afraid of the leaves.
Yeah, I mean 10 square
Like
feet.
hitting a big pin.
You know, anything is gonna have benefits, right?
My dog was
We
terrified.
can talk about
bear
that.
grass.
Yes.
Is that yours? Is it a lily?
Size,
God,
size,
I was like, I want this, but I know it wouldn't roll.
yeah, no, both done.
Look at them all go for the shade.
Where are we? Oh, I can stand it.
Yeah, sometimes I do.
Unless they look like they survived. Then
Correct. They'll resprout and I'll rub herbicide on the bar. That's what I've been doing with dog litter.
just dig them up, throw them out there, and let the root dry out.
Yeah, after a rain, if you can get that sucker
Yeah.
out, that's
Yeah.
preferred.
Hey, Cory, I have a question.
Okay.
So, what about just a small pocket?
Yeah.
If we wanted just a border in our lawn or whatever,
Yes.
can you give us a breakdown of how we would start and maintain?
Okay.
That might be a whole different talk.
Yeah.
Well, that's coming up on July 16th.
13th. But she's talking about as it's grown, because I'm just going to get into how to start it and how to. But I have a little garden and I just hand pull. What would you do with a little garden? I mean, little garden you might be pulling up.
Right. If you could turn the sod, that would be really nice. Let it sit. Turn it again. Let it sit. So it do that weed exhaustion process. And then you have a small area. You have a greater advantage over this that you can use live plants.
Like the plug.
Yeah, the little plugs.
Yeah.
And get them in, and you know you don't have to have the the patience process of waiting for the seed to germinate and come up. And,
I think for us to put something together so that people can see like a small thing, this is what to follow.
That's what we're going to do
Have some
13th.
success.
But, I mean, along, like, you go years and years and years, I'm just going to hand pull. Is that, I mean, can you think of another way to do it? Because it's just going to be a small garden. It's 100 square feet.
yeah, hand pulling's good. You got to be careful of those dry days where you hand pull and a big clump comes up.
So it's better right after, a couple days after a rain?
Right. Or use a parsnip predator and you jab that thing under the soil to cut the root.
Oh, Cory, I was going to ask how to plant those pretty flowers, those yellow ones.
Yeah. That's bonus stuff. If you make me lunch when I'm over, you get that.
Is that elderberry over there?
Yeah. In the woods.
In the woods.
The edge.
Oh, is it?
It's blooming out.
Oh, I see it now. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yep. Elderberry. Every year there's plants that just kind of are more prolific than other years. Elderberry is definitely one of them this year.
Yeah.
And pale pulper coneflower.
Well, the weather's been so different, hasn't it, this year than last year?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, it's polar opposite.
Yeah.
When was
So
this one?
here, so we have a 2020. So this is the youngest, right? Flowery and weedy. That's kind of where you're going to be at a 4-year spot. Little blue stem coming in really well here. But I've been managing this heavily. Queen Anne's lace. Been knocking that back with a 3-point mower. That grass, tall grass on the left, that's an invasive grass called Timothy.
Well, it's a former pasture grass.
Yep, a former pasture grass.
That's this here?
Oh, that's this here.
Yeah, well, down. So look on
Oh,
that,
that's nice.
that left.
I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yes.
Will you suppress that, Cory?
Yep. So with my 3-point mower, I just make sure that doesn't get tall and produce seed. I could have took the sucker out yesterday, but I thought I'd keep it for Saturday.
Well, just what you look for when doing management. Like here's some. This is a kind of an invasive sow thistle that will come through and cut down just to prevent it from flowering. And this is a biennial, so a couple years of management of this, and it'll
And the
be
rule of thumb, you
eliminated.
don't let any of these weeds set seed. right? If you cut them, even with an old-fashioned sickle, as long as you're not allowing them to flower, you're going to stop their life cycle, right? But this one was horseweed the first year or two, and then it became sow thistle and Queen Anne's lace. And
bull thistle too.
Oh, I got some bull thistle.
Yeah,
okay.
we've come out, and so a couple of those flowers, the bull thistle in this upper corner over here, the tall with kind of the brighter pink flowers, some of those look like they're close to going to seed. So what we do now would be to clip those off into just like a grocery bag or something, and then just toss them so that we prevent the seeds from flying into other areas.
Yeah. Again, don't know why that's here. It's not in the others.
What is it?
It's out.
Oh yeah, I saw like one sprig of it somewhere else. So.
4 years ago, this was just being mowed.
Long,
the rest of the lot.
And some like, so if we turn to the oldest Prairie, so again, this didn't get burned. This is 18 years old. Very grassy. Baptisia tends
Excuse
to
me, sir.
hold itself pretty well. That's the white flower. Hold itself pretty well, and that's what it's doing. But didn't burn it at all last year. We're doing every 3 years or so, but you see the remnants of last year, right? You know, some people don't like that. You know, typically as an industry, we're overburning. We're burning the same sites over and over and over again. It's better just burn a site for the first time, the second time. You do all these sites every 3-5 years, right? So hopefully that can, we know that now, and hopefully we can start getting better at that. You know, I've had clients say, oh, we need to burn this spring. I said, listen, we've burned 8 years in a row. We got to take a year off. And they say no, and they go find somebody else.
I'll listen to you, Cory.
So, Kevin is a great client because he just asks for opinion and does it.
And I like burning stuff, so I got to be careful.
Oh yeah.
But this is the line. This is the first Prairie. And then we just did an extension onto this in 2000.
What a difference. You can see the difference.
And then we merged it with the other one. Right? Someday we'll merge these two. Right? So we're kind of fragmenting it.
So how do you burn them individually? You must put a break.
Well, you see the
you must
the water I bring.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yep. So I wet down a line.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Play the wind.
Yeah. If they didn't have the means,
right.
It would make sense to compartmentalize them and have these breaks and you know, those rocks, that electrical box, that's all little blue stem around those. That's very nice in the winter. And those were not planted, that just started happening. Every year the mower just went further and further away, you know. And if you let this stuff go, I mean, it starts going places. We've been in our house 15 years now, and we're starting to see plants migrate around. So.
So this is rattlesnake master.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I said, yeah.
Yeah.
Cory, you going anywhere else, or is this?
This is the final station.
I'm recording for Kathy. She couldn't make it today, but you don't want to know.
Come on, Kathy, go on another vacation.